Hey, what's going on, Ronald? Just getting stuff set up. I was thinking about doing the video for the volume comparisons, but I figured they might be a little more enjoyable to do it in the stream and get the audience's opinions. And in setting it up, I kind of want to do it tonight. I got stuff to do tomorrow, and then I'm busy the next few days. So a late night stream was the What's Up Real Life. I to see the Dragon Ball Super spoilers. Oh, hang on, I think I have the stream open or the volume going in the stream. There we go. I don't want to circle back. Isn't it just like them fighting and Vegeta loses again? Like, is there anything surprising about it? I don't know what kind of big shocker you need to tell me that Vegeta loses. Like, Vegeta has spent more time on the ground than Chad. Like, he is, like, when Chad and the ground were a thing, like it already had been in a long relationship with Vegeta, had been trying to move on, but after Chad became successful, the ground went back to Vegeta. It's just a cycle of sadness with him. He's gonna keep doing that. It's gonna keep being like that. I mean, what's going on with you guys? I haven't seen. Has there like any Eden Zero spoilers or anything yet? I haven't seen anything for Four Nights. The last Four Nights chapter was pretty hype. Still don't know who that other person that showed up to Leonis is. I mean, I assume it's gonna be some other callback character. Might be a new character. If it's a new character, all I would kind of really want from it is to be like a big numbered character inside of the Knights of Chaos, because that's something we don't have. Is like a hierarchy of them, because some of them have been obviously really powerful, and others have been complete fodder. And it's just like, who gives a shit about random guys? Vegeta, why my favorite character? What do you mean? Like, Vegeta's been getting wrecked the whole time. Goku gets a new form? What? No, he doesn't. No way. What new form does he need? He has Ultra Instinct. Like, he hasn't even fully gotten that down yet. Isn't he? Or is it like Ultra Instinct Super Saiyan? I guess he didn't. He go white hair last chapter, but it's like, did he get something new in this one? There's no shot. Is there a spoiler or anything out? Did he get something new? Or isn't that just his Omen? Like, where he has the black hair still? Or is this something completely new? Oh, please don't tell me it's Ultra Instinct and Super Saiyan at the same time. That'd be absurdly lame if so. It's just like, it's just the same thing. They take the previous thing and just give it, like, stack Super Saiyan on top of it. Super Saiyan Blue, Super Saiyan, Ultra Instinct, Super Saiyan. Please don't tell me this is a thing. Could be Merlin. I feel like Merlin wouldn't have need to really move around. She could have just got in there. She wasn't shown next to Arthur in literally every other time she has. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, that's somebody who could hold off Meliodas, but outside of where that's gonna go, like, I kind of want it to be somebody more impressive than just like bringing in impressive for like large scale story setup, instead of just having Merlin just do stuff that we've already seen that Merlin can do. But what is this about, like, Goku, like, getting a new form? Tell me if this isn't, like, him literally just putting, like, the power, like, another color on top of it. I don't want that. I'm already annoyed that this just keeps happening since Super's began. Super's literally just been a bunch of recolors. It makes me so sad. It's almost midnight. Deku. Dude, you're right. I said I was doing a late night stream. We're doing a late night. We're here to talk about stuff. I told you guys, I said it on Twitter, we were doing a late night stream. Let me read this. I'm seeing this right now. I'm trying to look at the Dragon Ball spoilers to see, like, is it actually like a brand new thing? I hope not. He doesn't need another new one. He does not need another new one. He's got so many already. Especially if it's just going to be, because then it's going to be like, is there going to be something after Ultra Instinct, and then he just stacks that onto Super Saiyan at some point? We don't need that. Meliodas versus current Asta. I would still give it to Meliodas. Like, and I've said it before, anybody in Black Clover that's relevant, that's shown up and can throw hands, like, completely dominates every time. Like, and especially with somebody like Meliodas, who's physical strength is not connected to his magic, so the anti-magic is not going to stop Meliodas' physical strength from just slapping Asta around. And Orlandi was observing her. I don't gotta remember that character Orlandi, because Quan mentioned her. I watched his review and I don't remember that character at all. Boruto spoilers are crazy. I saw Code was getting the shit kicked out of him. Like, that dude's a simp, and he's getting beat up by that dumb, shorter kid. That kid who looks like a fucking dick. And then, like, he's like, what, the strongest in the verse now? Like, why? It looks so goofy. At least Code looked kind of cool. Like, his, I mean, it was barely a form change. It was mostly just, like, he got fluffier. He still looked kind of cool, whereas like the other dude, whatever his name is, the Damon or whatever, he looks super lame. It's unfortunate to think that he's right now the top of the verse. He's currently sitting up there. He's the peak of Naruto right now. Man, Goku really gets a new form. What is it called? Is it literally just Ultra Instinct Super Saiyan? That's so upsetting. They're never going to get Super Saiyan 4 in canon. It's always just going to be these damn recolors every time. It's the most depressing thing with Dragon Ball. Because I know, like, every single time something, like, they try and pass off a new form, it's just going to be recolor. No originality to it. No cool new things. It's just recolors. It's like different skins in a video game, but, like, not even skins. Because skins, sometimes they change outfits and aspects of the designs. It's more of, like, how you had the recolors and, like, you know, Smash and stuff. What's going on, Telehim? How are you? Even though you hate Damon, his hacks is broken. It's just the hacks that, like, because he's somehow so strong, it affects everybody and just scales higher than everybody. So they just fall under it. And because of that, he's, like, the strongest. That's so dumb. Like, he's just a lame character. Like, he feels like... Like, he feels like the fact that you have, like, that the dude Brook in Beyblade was, like, able to, like, warp the planet. And it's like, you can take a really cool character who's, like, street level, who's, like, a badass serial killer or something super dark and crazy, and then put him against this dude at the Beyblade, and the Beyblade guy's gonna win because he has a way crazier power. But it's different because it's, like, they're in the same verse, and this dude should be powerful, and he looks like a complete clown now. And like, who's the character that's, like, gaining from his expense? Like, this other, like, comedically looking character. So unfortunate. What do you think Ignia is the next dragon god? I mean, Ignia has to be, like, last out of them at this point. Like, it's very clear, like, the final battle between him and Natsu is gonna show up. Like, the only way I can see anything beyond that is if we you know, have somehow another secret big dragon boss, or it's Elefsiri or something, or if Acnologia comes back. Outside of that, I don't really see it being anybody other than Ignia, at least for right now. I mean, the logical character, if needed to, that could come in and then pretty much run the show is Onyx Ram, but I mean, I doubt that. I do agree Dogromag needs a weakness. I mean, he's a dragon. He doesn't really have one. You have to be more powerful than them. They don't have anything like motion sickness to make them weaker. They don't have anything that really counters their existence. You either can be a dragon, or you can use dragon slaying magic, and you have to beat them in a match of power. Like, it's just how it is with them. They don't have built-in weaknesses. They don't have motion sickness issues. Plus, code is still under Ida's Sympax. I mean, like, look at all these things right now. Look at how like Lucifaro was getting tricked around and pulled around by people who were way weaker than him because of how their abilities and combos worked. And then look at freaking Code. Code looks so goofy. He's, like, hanging out in a room and they're having, like, a sit down of their feelings. And then, like, he just starts getting beaten up by this clown. Like, it's so unfortunate. It makes him look so lame. Like, he's just a mid character right now. The only thing that I thought was, like, his design was alright, and I liked his power, but it's like, after this, and it's just seeing how many L's he takes, and how somehow he just falls under every ability that comes his way, he just doesn't look good right now. It's like watching early Shigaraki again, and it's like, no thanks. Like, he looked like a complete and total clown with importance at the start. I mean, now he's more like just kind of like a crazed mad dog, whereas, like, beforehand he was just this bumbling idiot villain, like, teenager. But now he's competent to a degree now. I wonder when he's gonna show up and actually start doing stuff. Boruto ruined Haruto. I wouldn't say he ruined it. It's just like, it's not Boruto. I think right now it's just some of the bad guys. Like, the three characters right now, they feel like anime filler villains. Like, legitimately. Because
I feel like the dude is setting up something bigger. Like maybe the freaking what's the guy's name? Amado or Amdo or whatever the fuck, Armado. I don't know. He's the dude who kind of looks like Hayao Miyazaki. Like, is he gonna secretly be the boss? Is it gonna be like a Cell thing where he's been developing like some supervillain, kind of like big character? Because the three ones that we have right now are just not really interesting. You have a very emotionless girl that people simp for, or she simps for Boruto, or no, was it Kawaki? Whatever. I mean, I don't care enough to remember exactly which one. But you have that. You have the kid who kind of looks like a dick, and then you have Code who just keeps getting clowned on and simping. Like, I wish so bad we had like one serious member. Like, goofy members are fine, but you have to have one character at least that like keeps the tension, that keeps like keeps the hostility, and none of the Boruto antagonists are doing that right now. I wonder if it's Georg is Kieran's father. At least from what we saw, I don't think so. And we know their hair colors aren't the same, but we know Georg's much older, so it's like one of those things. Like maybe his hair just lost color at some point, and he could be his grandfather. I think that would be really cool if he was still tied in there. Maybe we'll find that out next chapter or something. Because the next chapter, unless Mashima is really playing out the idea of characters getting back up, I feel like he has to do something with it next chapter, or it's going to be really weird. The only other point I could see him... No, not really, because I was going to say something with, like, when Dogramag goes dragon form, but at that point, Natsu and Suzaku, I think they're going to need help. So, like, characters are going to be done with that. Maybe what we'll do is we'll get like somewhat of a fight with Dogramag and Natsu and Suzaku, and then the characters, like maybe some people can get up. There's still the possibility Kieran will eat that lacrima, who knows? But otherwise, it's like then when the enemies would have to get up and give some of those other fights, Gajil and Gray's fights, Scully and a Madmol, Misaki getting in for another match. I don't know about Haku and Wendy. That's just like a specific one because we know Haku doesn't actually want to fight Wendy. Unless, like, him getting back up, he decides he wants to or something. And then, like, maybe Kieran and Laxus round 3. That's where I could see it happening if Mashima wants to do that. Because I think it would have to happen before Dragon Form Dogramag. But it's just going to depend because we have to get, I think, a good a good display of Dogramag in his human form. And, like, what's going to push him into going to his dragon form and actually using his power to its full, like, pretty much just like its full expanse. But to do so, like, at that point, they're going to need other people to show up and help them. And especially people like Wendy, who's going to be, like, important support. You're going to have to obviously get some of the other dragon slayers just to try and fight this guy. If something like that happens, I'll be pretty hyped. Otherwise, let's just gotta, like, get to the fight. You know, get on this fight. Because if we're not going to do anything with Kieran and Misaki, the only thing left would be Madmol and Scullion. Which would be very interesting, but it's like, if not, then just get to the Dogramag fight. Because nobody else is really around. We have Elefsaria having some suspicious kind of, you know, talking into what's going on with Ignia and Dogramag. Unless we're going to get something from Selene, or we're going to see over what Igni's doing. There's only a handful, I think, of logical, like, point of views we're going to get in the next chapter. And that's going to be one of the big things. But yeah, we haven't even really talked about the volume covers. Let me get caught up with the chat, and then we'll talk about the volume covers. Just in the meantime, tell me your guys. Actually, I'll do them right now real quick because I think I'm like 2 comments behind or something. But what exactly is your favorite out of these ones? I only got a handful of people here. It's a late night stream. The late night people are going to be the first of the stream versions of this, and I'm going to try and do streams of the volume covers for now on. Just because I think it'd be better to have a fan vote in there. Not fan, sorry, viewer vote. I don't like saying fans. But like a viewer vote of what you guys pick out of these versus, you know, what I'd say. Because personally, I think the Rave Master one is cool. I like the color palette for the environment, but I'm not a huge fan of like how the people look. It's just a weird, I don't know, like Haru's coat blends too much into like the skin that he and Ellie have. It's a little weird. And I do like the little blue flying blue. I think that's nice. The Fairy Tale one, in terms of the colors used, it's my favorite. I really like that kind of. I don't really know what to call it. It's like a very solid color for Happy, and I think it looks really good for him. I think that like that one has the most boring setup aside from where Happy and Carla are and where Faust is. Everybody else is just kind of there, but I think that like Happy and Carla on like the floating rock, like a little floating rock, but is really cool. Obviously, Carla looking all sad, Happy looking determined, and then Faust looking up, kind of like it looks like he's kind of like standing over like his people. I think that's just really cool. And Eden Zero, it's a similar thing where it's like the general layout I'm not too fond of. I think it looks all right. I do like a lot kind of where Gears, or not Gears, where Titan, oh my god, I'm getting his name wrong. What is it? Dead End Crow. Like, what is his name? Titan of Darkness or something? But I like Crow's position on the chapter, and I actually really like his color scheme for him and Aknoella. I think it's like two just weird color sets that I didn't see coming at all, that I actually kind of like. I think Aknoella's looks better. The weird purple flesh on his face though for Crow with like the green and red eyes, it just makes him look really cool. I like how just kind of like colorful he is in like a mean way. I will say though, like Eden Zero has definitely the best overall volume cover kind of setup. I really like the purple. I think the purple looks really good. It's probably my favorite out of this, just because like it not only does it have, like I said, the purple, I think color looks the best, but it's one of those covers that doesn't spoil anything for you, but it gives you some context of something that is pretty important, I'd say, and that's like color schemes for characters that look really weird in color, or like have a hair color that is completely off from what you would have guessed. Whenever you get stuff like that, I love it. That's like one of my favorite things, and we do get some of that to a degree with the whole setup in the Edalus one, because I don't think Sugar Boy is on the other cover, but I mean I think Sugar Boy is the only one that you'd be looking at a character and be like, oh yeah, this dude's got pink armor. This guy's got like deep pink armor, whereas like you look at Aknoella and you look at Crow and you're like, oh, she's blue. Like this dude's got freaking candy eyes. Like he's literally got some Willy Wonka weird sour candy eyes, and then I think they look cool. I think it looks good. I like, especially I bet like with the lasers coming out of it, looks even better. Favorite cover out of the three is Eden Zero. Yeah, that's probably mine for this one too. Like when I look at it, the things like the bits, if I picked like a specific thing out of them, it's the way that Happy's standing in it. I think that like the shading on it looks really good, but obviously he doesn't take up the whole volume. The Fairy Tale one does probably have too many characters on it. I think the character amount is fine, because like the Eden Zero one looks like it has about the same amount of characters. Like I feel like it's pretty close. And then Rave Master only has, obviously, unless you count Plu, is what, 3? I gotta come forward. I was leaning all comfortably back, but I can't see the screen enough. And I good for a while, but unfortunately I gotta switch positions. Can you do cover page rank for manga? Cover page rank? Do you mean just like talking about whatever is gonna be on like that first page? I don't know how how intense that's gonna be. Jujutsu Kaisen's full, Sakari's dead. Well, Sakari's gonna gamble with this last bit, and he's gonna decide what he wants to do. Knowledge of Laxus are coming the heart of a dragon. What do you think about Cobra, Sting, and Rogues could be? I think they're dragons as well, but I don't think that any of those are going to be any big significant dragon unless otherwise stated. I think they're just going to be dragon hearts from dead dragons of their specific kinds. What if Team Natsu and Diablos decide to team up and take down the rest of the dragon gods? I mean, I think they have obviously much better chances, but I think ultimately Natsu is going to want them to do it without them, because like this is something that Fairy Tail decided to do. So like they can just train with him or something, but maybe they can compete. But I don't know if Natsu's going to want another guild's direct like agreed help in a large scale sense. Like in a certain scenario, I can see it just because they're already there. But I don't know how much he's going to want to group with them. Maybe he'll like Suzaku enough that he'll just kind of decide with it and he's fine with it. But it wouldn't surprise me if he said no.
I enjoy the simplicity of Raymaster. Fairy Tail does more people to the connection series. It cuts down to the characters. It does look nice. I'm not a huge fan sometimes of like Eden Zero's characters. I think Eden Zero, like I don't think Mashima goes into the characters nearly as much. Like he's doing a lot of world building, and I think he's done some interesting stuff, but I don't think he does nearly as much of a dive into the characters themselves. And I definitely wouldn't say like Rave Masters. Rave Master is a simplistic overall kind of like if you just gave a TLDR of it, it's it's got the hero's journey. I mean that's like a basic story premise. But I think Eden Zero's got a lot going on. I think it's a much more than just like a basic story. Same thing with Fairy Tail and Eden Zero as well. Shamar says Fairy Tail, Eden Zero, and Rave. Yeah, the Rave Master one, it's not that cool. What's going on, JK Network? How are we doing? Ida and Damon might join the Hidden Leaf after this, leaving Conan on his own for the time being. What is the point of that? If they already have two people that can beat him by just being in the same room with him, then he's not a threat. And then it's like, how does he become a threat after? Does he go and find more robot bad guys? Like, I don't get it. It's such a weird spot right now. Which do you think is the best cover here? I think Eden Zero has the overall best cover here. I think Eden Zero's got the best one here. My favorite thing I mentioned, like aspect-wise of it, is I really like how Happy and Carla are in the Fairy Tail one, but I think the Eden Zero one has an overall better cover. I think characters on there. Fairy Tail about 6 for Rave Master and only 3 on or 3 or 6 for Eden Zero, 3 for Rave Master. Let's start over some bit. I mean, yeah, if you count like stuff like Happy's parents and Nichia, and you start counting like little tiny background characters. Those are like little side characters though. That's like counting the little pudding dude and Ruby. And that's true as well. You can count Ruby though. He's a good dude. I didn't care that much for the Edalus arc. I mean, Edalus is alright. Edalus has some high peaks, but it's just like, it's so short. And then a lot of it is slow. A lot of it is slow when you're reading through it. The ending parts are really cool. Like, once you get to the point where, like, people got their magic bags, they're back on the run, Gajo's running around, Urza versus Urza is getting ready. It should have been, like, I feel like it should have been longer. I always thought that they should have left that arc with some form of sub skill, like if Natsu somehow not like kept the like fire sword, but like maybe developed like using that into a new technique, where he like made a big flame, it condensed into a smaller flame, and it just was like a raw kind of like smaller AOE but way more condensed power kind of thing. Or maybe Wendy learned like large scale attacks. Like there was definitely potential in there to do something that just kind of improved upon their style. It's just really weird. Like Edalus just felt like an odd arc in general. I love all 3 for different reasons, but I love Ray for its execution the most out there. I love Fairy Tail's cast most. I think Year Zero spot's the most interesting. So there you go. I think it really just depends on what kind of story for Mashima's different series. That's what I always tell people. Like, I don't think I think it would just kind of depend. Are you in for more of like a character driven? Or are you more for just like the hero? Something where it's a more direct plot, like more direct kind of like more direct, understandable kind of plot. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like Fairy Tail doesn't have an overarching objective. Eden Zero does to a degree. You know, we know that there are goals, but it's not like how Rave Master had to destroy all the Darkbrain, you destroy the Mother Darkbrain. It had a end games idea scenario from the beginning. It's got one of those kind of setups. Become the Pokemon Master. Not entirely, but find the Dragon Balls. You know what I mean? You know what the goal is going into some earlier parts. Versus, like, how long did it take to Fairy Tail before it's obviously, like, defeating Xerath and Acnologia were, like, the big goals. I read 20th Century Boys or Monster. I haven't read Monster yet. I've gone through stuff on Johan, but like I haven't read the whole series. I have read 20th Century Boys. 20th Century Boys is weird. I don't know. I was not a fan. There's like a lot of stuff and I thought was kind of weird, and then those stuff I thought was neat. But I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the series. It's really weird. Like, I feel like it's one of those series that would look way better in a lot of areas if it was like a TV show. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not into that general kind of style of series that in a manga format is not that high for me. It's kind of like how like I like the premise of Doctor Stone and I like stuff about Doctor Stone, but I don't really want to read the manga because I don't like that style read. I'd rather watch it. Maybe that's it. I haven't watched any form of animated anything for 20th Century Boys, so I can't really say. Like, maybe it's just one of those things for me. Maybe if it had like a good anime, I could watch it and it would just kind of roll better. Well, like, Ichigo's goal was, to protect the people around him. Like, there was always also an understanding of what was going on when you were going into an arc, even if that, like, whatever it was far off. But you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you understand that there is whatever that high point is it doesn't have to be the fullest high point, obviously, right away, but you have an idea of, like, what they're aiming for. Code becomes a threat by eating the divine tree and becoming so he goes and eats a tree and then people stop laughing at him. So he's doing steroids. He got bullied at school and now he's gonna go home and shoot up with roids. I think Avatar is the worst canon arc. Avatar is like a sub mini arc. That's like the Sun Village. Like people counting those, I think, is ridiculous. They're like, when you have those 10 or whatever chapter little setup arcs where it's just like the character is getting to flex or setting up for whatever's coming next in like an actual big arc. It's just weird because that's like judging a movie by like the first 15 minutes of the movie, but then having that as its own section of the review, like it's cut off from everything else. Because like what is something like the Sun Village? They go there and they mess with some fodder and they unfreeze the giants, and then the giants get out. It's like what about something for like the Narrow 66 when they're on Forestra. Forestra, for the most part, was pretty. It was all right. I'd say Forestra though had a little bit of a better parts for some of the plot twists with like Xenolith and stuff. But for the most part, it's just like they go there and they mess with some fodder and then they get beat up a bit and they have to leave and go train. Whereas like the arc after that, I thought was much better. Like, you can do that with a lot of series. What is it for like going into was it going into Whole Cake Island or was it Wano where they went? Oh, it was for Wano, right? Where they went and did stuff on the elephant on Zunisha. I thought that arc was pretty meh. And I'm not a huge Wano guy, but I thought Wano was better, obviously, than that arc. And any of those like couple just bits where it's more like a pit stop. I already said this before that it was felt like anime filler. Where it's like good in Nagulin Island and die after Tartarus. I don't agree. I thought Alvarez was good. I liked Alvarez, and obviously 100 Years Quest I think is much better. I just realized this, and the purple-haired guy in Edelus, cover next to LC Kid, looked like Killer. Oh, he's talking about Hughes? A little bit, yeah. I guess it depends. Do we have a color, like an official color for Killer at all? I don't remember if he has an official color. I think so. Didn't we get one of those like big spread ones and we saw him? Like one of the ones where Mashima just draws a bunch of like cheapy versions. I think we did. I think he has like the opposite hair palette set up though, right? Chris also said why is it Hermit dynamic so he gets past for me. I mean that part was neat. It was neat for Jin and stuff. I don't think it was as neat for Wise and Hermit. Just because like I felt like the stuff for Mueller with them didn't have the same payoff as it did for Jin. Like for Jin it was like a huge character stepping point. Hermit's was more of like, she had some issues with him, but they didn't have that same point of where all of that context in those events kind of, they decide to hatch into a storybird. And then it's just like, yeah, the Hermit one was cool, but the Jin one was way better. And you'd think that the Jin one would be for both of them. You'd think that Hermit would have some like super big emotional thing going on after, they defeat Mueller. And on top of that, I'm actually kind of mad that Mueller wasn't destroyed. Because if I see him come back, I'm going to be mad at Hermit and I'm going to be mad at Wives. Because don't let that guy live. That guy should be dead.
And I know everybody agrees with me that he should be dead. Aramaki legit discount Azuma Oda keeps stealing from Mashima. Oh, he's talking about Green Bull? I mean, I don't agree with stealing the ideas, but Green Bull I think is kind of meh. His design looks boring. And so, like, my two things on that was, one, Oda might be having the cool part is design, B, once he gets all flowered up, or he's going to be a measuring stick character, and he's going to get the shit kicked out of him as soon as he gets to anybody relevant in Wano. Because, like, it's not only just the fact that, like, you know, you have 3 different people that just fought Yonkos. You have all of the Straw Hats fresh. Like, fresh, ready to fight. And then, like, you know, I'm not going to hype up, like, obviously, like, Zoro and Sanji. But it's, like, all of them fully ready, and Luffy's there. He's going to beat the shit out of him. He's going to beat the shit out of this dude. I don't think for a second that, like, if Luffy decides to step out there, unless he's so hurt he passes out or something like that happens where he can't fight, this dude is going to get completely demolished. Like, Luffy just bams Gear 5 and then just punches this dude right out of Wano. Like, legitimately, he could probably punch him off of the country. Like, straight just kind of cartoon out. You hear the zip sounds, whee, as he flies off. Easy. I don't think he should have a problem with that at all. Unpopular opinion, but I think Elsie should live past the character because we haven't gotten enough of her and we've already had a major death before. I think that we should have her get killed off and we should focus on Justice. Because we have gotten next to nothing with Justice. And I think it's actually kind of stupid. Not in a lot writing standpoint. Because it's not like he just is a dumb character. It's more of like, it's upsetting that we're this far in, we're past the halfway point, and we have almost nothing for Justice. So the logical thing would be that we're gonna get the content for Justice after, like, say, like, Elsie dies and Justice becomes more prominent. I think that would make sense from a standpoint of, like, a writing of when you were planning to put his content into the series, you know? I think it would make sense. And then that's when you can have him be relevant, participating in story arcs, participating in events, and, you know, whatever, like, the end areas are. There's just dudes just doing a big list of stuff. I think there'll be a war arc in 100 Years Quest against the White Mage. I mean, Rebellious is weird because we haven't even really seen anything about Rebellious, like, actually, like, one-to-one. And I still think that it might be Eleftheria. I think Eleftheria has a really good chance at being some form of, like, aggressive twist where he's a bad guy or something. Who, in your opinion, is the most gorgeous female in the Fairy Tail Guild? I mean, I feel like the obvious answer is, like, it's going to be either Urza or Lucy. I mean, those are, like, the two gems right there. I'm going to get me some water. Hang on. I forgot to refill my water before the stream. I think I have enough. I'll probably be okay. What's up, Amber? How's it going? You know, just key and clean at the same time while drinking. He's not going to be fodder. No, here's the thing. I don't think he'd be fodder to most people. My voice cracked there, jeez. I don't think he'd be fodder to most people. I think, though, that he'll be fodder to a fresh Straw Hats. Not even counting the fact you have other powerful people there that are on their side. Like, the guy's by himself. He's not here with the other admirals and Mihawk and, like, an army. Do you think that this guy by himself is going to be any threat to a fresh, full set of Straw Hats? Keep in mind, like, Luffy's right there. Unless Luffy can't go into Gear 5, but it's like, even then, like, seeing some of the stuff that he was doing beforehand with Kaido, I think that he's going to completely demolish this guy. If this was right after Luffy and Kaido and Luffy was unconscious, I would agree. Like, this guy's dangerous. But Luffy, it's been a week, and he seems fine. So Luffy should be able just to beat the shit out of this dude with no real problem. I don't really know what this guy could possibly reveal that would cause Luffy to have any real problem at all. Unless it's going to be something super specific. Like, it looks like he has a black blade. I mean, like, he can try and cut Luffy, but I mean, like, Luffy's gonna get, like, maybe cut once, and then he's just gonna kind of work around this guy. I feel like this guy could maybe get one good shot in if Luffy's not taking him seriously enough or kind of goofing around a little too much. That's my guess. I don't really see any other way that he's gonna have much of a problem with this guy. Because it's like the same thing of sending, like, fodder to go after Mihawk. It's just like, this isn't real life where you can say this super powerful drug lord or something. No, because if this was an anime and stuff, the drug lord's level of crime and money would translate into his power level, and he'd be too powerful. What are they gonna do? Like, they can't do anything. They're gonna get their ass, like, he's gonna get their ass kicked. He's gonna get his ass kicked horribly the second he tries to even step out there. It's gonna be bad. I'm interested in where Justice's story will go, because unlike Jalal, he didn't start out as a villain and more like a straight hero-like Seacart. I mean, so far we haven't got really anything of him. That's the weird part. It's just like he's had really almost zero screen time. And that's one of the things I mentioned. It's like Mashima's been doing more with like with world building, and I think setting up some more of the clues, and that he has a lot of people in the main cast too. I think he has a little bit too many characters in like the main story cast if he's not planning to make the series longer. I think that's a little bit like, I think he should have excluded a couple characters, like probably, I know it's probably not popular, someone like Sylph, and then maybe like gotten rid of, it's hard to say, like I would have killed off Sister and then had Rebecca gain like a healing powers, like time healing powers or something, just to kind of like dwindle it down to like a much more core group, and then just use them. I think that would be good. Like, so it's like, it's getting bigger, and it's not like he's focusing too much, I think, on any one character. But when you have stuff like, we're how far in the time skip, and Jin has said almost no words and done anything. Like, we don't even know, like, he's just what, like hanging out on the ship trying to fight Crow? Like, why isn't he actually like getting a match? Like, he was like a borderline rival to Shiki, like, for a good chunk of the series, and now he's like one in the back. It's weird. I mean, like, I wouldn't have even included Couchpo in the crew. But I mean, like, even if you include Couchpo so far has only really been there for jokes, and then she sometimes have said some good words. That's it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even let Couchpo stick around. Couchpo would have been, like, dropped off at a planet and gone home. We have Moscow. We do not need another big, goofy, fridge-shaped character. No offense to fridge-shaped people. I wonder if Selene and her kids will be allies. That's one of the things, too, is I want to figure out what's going on with Selene and her kids, because that's a whole faction-sized level of potential entity in the series, if we get to it. We've gotten, like, little to nothing post, like, learning about, like, everything with her kids and whatnot. We don't even know how many she has. We don't even know how many are alive. We don't really know any of their names other than Kurenugi. So hopefully we could get something maybe soon. Maybe we'll get something from her. Something to kind of, like, build onto, like, the possibility of, like, where that's going to go. I don't know. Couchpo still has, no business on this ship to this day. She's just there. She's just there. I mean, I don't know why they haven't gotten rid of her. I guess they like her. She's probably really friendly. Maybe she's like, imagine like being with her with Couchpo, and it's like she seems fine to talk to. So it's like, imagine being on the ship, and no matter what time you go and get something to eat, there's somebody there to sit and just kind of chat with for 10 minutes and then finish eating and leave. That's not so bad. That's not so bad. That's a fair trade-off. Like, she's their therapy person. It's like, you know, it's an emotional support lunch mate. I still disagree of killing off Sister, which is dumb. I mean, the Sister getting killed off, I think, would make sense. Like, getting rid of the older Dark Stars. But there has to be some form of healer in place if you get rid of your healer. Especially because she needs more moments. I mean, you got rid of Witch without having a ton of moments. And on top of that, I think it would make sense to trim down the crew in the later portions of the story. Just because Mashima is having it way shorter than what Fairy Tail was set to be. And I think with Rave Master, With Wraithmaster, he stuck with his smaller cast earlier, and then worked into some more. I think with Eden Zero, he got too big of a crew too fast. Like I would have preferred Jin to have stayed a villain until maybe fresh out, like not fresh, but shortly after the time skip or something. Like move a couple things around, preferably just be like to kind of like if he was gonna keep it in its current size. I think just as of right now, he's got too many characters. So, for instance, showing characters out of the time skip takes way longer because you have way more characters to kind of like give spotlight to. And that's why Jin has gotten like next to nothing. And that's why like Laguna has had next to nothing. We've only had like a little bit of stuff with Wise and Homura. Homura's had pretty much nothing. Her fight's coming up, but still, you'd expect her to have some form of, like, at least mini, like, little scenes since the time skip. I wouldn't really say she has, though. Healers are broken. I mean, you should always have some healers. Like, have some form of allies that can heal you. Do you agree with me that we should drop Moscow? Do not drop Moscow. Absolutely not. Sylph, I wouldn't have let on the... It's not like Sylph should have been on the crew, and I think her whole like sickness thing with like the whole trauma should have been a longer plot line. That I do think, because I think her joining should have been way later to kind of like come with the payoff. Maybe again after the time skip, and that could have been like, oh, she's healed, and then like shortly after finally fulfilling that purpose, you have like sister get killed off, not like immediately, but like in that plot line. Difference is which had more besides. I mean, she had a handful. Sadly, the facts are that like I like Witch, but she was not good at keeping the Eden Zero like security set. Her and Hermit, like people keep breaking in and causing havoc. Your security person in IT and physical security both were messing up. Sister's the only one that's been consistently healing people the whole time. She's got the best track record for doing her job, I think, on the Eden Zero. Chapter 111, 100 Years Quest. I will do it. I'm looking forward to it. And I don't think I work that day, so I'll be able to do it just fine. Shiki versus Dante. I'd still give it to Dante. Shiki has no way of killing him. Always needed to be deleted. The only thing it did was destroy demon card toilets. Oh, Lazenby? Lazenby was cool. I was reading that. I was like, wait, what? Did I mispronounce it? Oh, yeah, Lazenby. Like, he was funny. I liked him. He was like just one of those goofy characters who was just strong enough to kind of be relevant sometimes, but he just always was getting clowned on. The Straw Hats have 13 characters, though. The Straw Hats don't have 13 members. Isn't it only 10? Like, I don't think there's 13. But, like, the Straw Hats built them over a longer period of time. But I also think part of the problem is, like, when Oda finishes getting a Straw Hat in the crew, he doesn't do nearly as much with them for the most part. He's done a little bit recently, but there's like giant chunks where like members of the Straw Hats do next to nothing. Elfman did have some did terrorism blow the guild? I mean, he was kind of mind controlled. That's not really something that Elfman wanted to do. I don't think that was his big real life hopes and goals, that he was going to end up doing that. Like, he just had, like, some crazy weekend. I don't think that was the case. We'll see about it, though. Maybe he'll come back for, like, a sadistic round 2. How would you feel about Angstrom being the main villain of the manga or the Fairy Tail Next Generation's manga if we got one? I don't think it should be Angstrom, because I think if anybody's gonna beat Angstrom, I think it should be Natsu, and for a lot of just general context reasons. And I think it would make sense for him to do it just from the fact that that would be the best way for him to, you know, in a way, avenge Zareth and stop anybody, or stop it so like he couldn't do this to anybody else. Because like if they did a next gen thing and it was the next generation people that beat Angstrom, I think it'd be a little bit weird, because it's like if Natsu does it with Zareth in mind, I think that'll do a lot for his character. Where it's like the main cast is what they're just going to be, you know, this hypothetical next generation would just be beating some powerful guy because he's a bad guy, not for like reasons behind it that go more towards like personal ties and stuff. Warren is a great guy using his millions to help the guild. Warren is a surprisingly useful guy. That is a fact. He somehow just manages to succeed in what he's doing. I think Death doesn't always go for a story. I mean, it depends on the context, though. It depends on like how things are kind of going and getting set up. What I'm saying is, like, if you were gonna kill off any of the characters, one of the ones logically would be Sister. Like, if you were gonna kill off any of them, it's not gonna be Homura. It's not gonna be a character with like much more of a building onto part in the story. Because think about this: Hermit has had stuff that has been building onto her character since she was introduced. Sister has not. Sister's relatively the same. She hasn't had really any character arcs. It doesn't seem like Mashima is building her the same way that he has been with Hermit and doing nearly as much. Like, I think Hermit's going to win the fight with Clown, but I'd be really surprised if it was like in any way as character like gifted and spectacular as what Hermit did. I think it'll be cool, but I don't think it'll be as big spotlight showy, because I think Hermit's just more popular and he has more plans with Hermit, so he does more with Hermit. Fairy Tail Guild has too many members. I mean, what do you mean? You don't need 5 people to have a guild. But I mean, the main cast is like just a handful of people. They're a team in the guild. The guild isn't like the main cast. The whole guild is not like the focus. The people that go to the guild, and you know, the story sets around the most important people that go to the guild. Tristan and Lancelot versus Boruto and Kawaki. I gotta see a few more abilities from Tristan and Lancelot. We haven't seen anything really from Lancelot. We just know he's skilled and strong, but we don't know like what dangerous abilities he really has. And then Tristan I think is gonna be busting out a couple moves over the next few chapters. I liked how he's like buffing and enchanting his swords with what I would assume both goddess and demon powers, because I think it would make sense for him to boost up all of the people like on his general side. Like he ends up kind of like, you know, he's just kind of like eating up the people already on his team, boosting up like people with like light magic, but also just like boosting his swords. I think would make a lot of sense. I gotta take my dog out. Oh, good. You should make sure your dog is okay. Would you like Ignia to maybe have a brother relationship with Natsu? I don't know. I don't even know if like it's gonna be logical to have Ignia stick around. Like, he's killed who knows how many people for fun. I know it's a different story, but it's not like Fairy Tail lost members. Even Macro, I mean, they lost Mavis. But the thing is, like, the Eden Zero could lose members way easier than the Fairy Tail members can. Because one thing is, like, they don't have nearly as much of ties to them. It's way bigger of a deal if a member of the Fairy Tail Guild dies to them. Because when you think about it, for the Eden Zero crew, it's like losing a really good friend, where for the Fairy Tail Guild, like the Guild, it's like a family member just died. Like a really, like, and on top of that, it's a really close guild, so a lot of them are going to feel that way. It's a different tone thing, and like it's going to affect more members. But I mean, they've had like the same amount of people die, and Mavis had way more content and story than Witch. That's not even close. Al had more weight in his story in Death Note. Every character except she combined. What are we talking about? What are we talking about, L? The taser snuff my dog. It's for boars. Do you run into boars? Celine is a cat. I don't think she's dead. I think she's just kind of like knocked over down by right now. She'll get back up, I'm sure. She'll get healed or something. I feel like if Sister dies, Hermit's death's pretty much set in stone. I think Hermit will be the one to survive, because Mashima is doing stuff with her character. He's making it so there is progression and reason to put stock in her character. Like, whereas Sister's pretty much not, like, she's not getting any form of character arcs or anything that's like developing her into an ongoing character, a character that is living through the story. She just exists in the story as like kind of a stagnant character. User crew are filming. They are close, but I mean, like, you can't legitimately, like, they are close, but you cannot compare them to the same as like the Fairy Tail crew, who have like known each other for years, like a majority of their life at this point. A lot of them have known each other.
A lot of them grew up right next to each other, going to the guild every single day for years. Like, they factually have a much tighter relationship. And it's like, again, the Eden Zero crew are you know, they got each other's backs and they're good, but it's not the same thing. They're not even remotely close to as tightly wound. Like, a lot of them still keep secrets from each other. A lot of them don't know a lot of stuff about each other. There's not nearly as much of a set kind of connection the same way.
It's funny how Dogremag literally ignores Celine. I just don't think he cares. I don't think he has any reason to really to care. But I also don't, like, hostile or, like, compassionate wise, I don't think he's just going to go and want to stomp her. I think he just wants to enjoy himself while he's up, get his legs and his arms stretched out, and just start working. Lancelot has a lowly just like bond. That's a little different because as of, like, what we know, what's her name? Elaine? Like, Elaine is actually that small, whereas Guinevere is just young, because she's 12. But when the time that he's obviously 20 and she's 16, I think it'd be way more of a tell of where that's going to be. I don't think she's going to be a loli, because we've seen that one picture of her earlier in the series where it looked like she was much older. So I would assume that's going to be more of what the aim is going to be for her character design. And then the other characters are going to also age up accordingly at some point in the story. At some point, they'll kind of just advance to that higher grade. Get a little bit older. What have I been streaming for? I completely forgot. What does it say? Let me see. It's been about an hour. We'll go for a chunk longer. And so despite half, we still don't. We still have time for Jin to get moments like that. If he hopes to take Holy and Crow down. I mean, I hope so, but I mean, like, right now he's had like no real touch on after this. Mashima's been doing more with Holy, and I don't know if he's gonna try and like make her join the Eden Zero or what's going on with her. But he's given her like more spotlight than pretty much everybody outside of like who are fighting the Dark Stars right now. And like again, Jin and Laguna are just kind of looking a little neglected. Like Laguna's a character I kind of wish, not in a bad way, because I don't dislike Laguna, but he's another character that I just probably wouldn't have had join the crew, just because I don't think he's a character that is gonna have a lot of area for like stuff in the future. I don't think he's gonna have a lot of his own kind of like personal character aims, and he's gonna have his own like plots where they're going. I feel like he's gonna be somebody who's there and is pretty much good, because like I said, we're already over halfway through the story, so I don't know how much more Laguna can really kind of get to advance forward if he's already kind of pretty much where he's at in the story. We already know his backstory, that like he doesn't have any like overarching goals that have to do with like anything in the direct ongoing plot. You know, whatever kind of life he wants afterwards, I don't think it's gonna be that hard for him to obtain. But I didn't say like 100% Mashima's not doing it. I'm talking about currently. This is like the status. It's funny that everybody hates on Gray, but then there's Jin, who's also like hasn't done anything in goddamn what, like 2 years, year and a half, whatever. Here he is not doing shit. I mean, he's more of the Godjil equivalent, but he can do the same thing. People hating on Godjil too. Godjil's just waiting for his fight. Waiting to go and hopefully fight Madmol soon. I think Wendy's going to go heal Celine, and her Diablos will help stop Ignia, because Celine is a little dragon willing to work with humans. I mean, Wendy healing Celine is about what I would expect from her. I mean, she would logically would want to help somebody, even if it's somebody who was an enemy at one point. We could definitely get some really good interactions out of that too. I like to see what like Celine would have to say to Wendy. I don't grade because accept more from him. What are you talking about? Jin was an enemy rival to Shiki, but Gray never fell off as hard as where Jin is sitting right now. Where Jin is like in dead background stance right now. It's not good. Like Jin right now has how Gray is currently in the story, to where he's kind of just like in the background. But that's because we've literally been focused on all these other fights. Gray hasn't had his like opponent yet. Jin is
Jin hasn't had this at all in like the entirety of the time skip. He hasn't had anything for a good chunk minute, and he doesn't have anything like the Hakune stuff that happened in arc before. The stuff with Callum I thought was kind of other than like seeing the form itself. I thought seeing the Overdrive form itself was cool, but I don't think the stuff with Callum was all that hype. Like, it kind of just like further pushed to what we mostly knew about Jin. Like, I would have preferred it if there was some kind of more interesting backstory between them, more than just kind of like rivals at one point. Like, maybe some, one of those, mentor and student betrayal kind of things or something down those lines. Something that just kind of like made that part more interesting for Callum, instead of Callum was just kind of like this powerful dude, pretty much, who she used to lose to. Louisiana has tons of boars. Dude, kill some boar, eat it. What if Acnologia secretly had an apprentice foster child, the dragon sling attribute? I don't, like, if Acnologia ever had some form of kind of, like, weird tie-off thing like that, I feel like it'd be, like, some kid. I feel like he would just have had a kid at some point, whether intentional or by accident, and that would kind of, like, be where it kind of comes from. Arlie said, except from the Gray, you expect more from Gray than Jin, because I always like Gray more as a character. Barely, I mean, yeah, he doesn't have a chance to right now, though. It's been focused on other people. But, I mean, he had stuff prior to this, like, literally prior to this arc, he had a really good character bit with Hakune, and he ended up beating her with, his big badass ice army. Like, Gray had stuff prior, at least, to hold over before we got to what I would hope for, Gray versus Scullion. But Scullion hasn't been up, so Gray doesn't have his chance to have his opponent yet. Whereas, like, Jin could go out and start fighting people. Like, there are opponents that he could go out and locate. Instead, he's just flying his ship around. But he also has, like, he hasn't really had much for character stuff since Mueller. Like, it's been, like, almost 2 years of him just kind of there. It's a little upsetting. And at least, like, with 100 Years Quest, it's bi-weekly, so the time difference makes it feel longer. Whereas, like, one is actually of that time length. It's not safe to eat for 2 months. Is it, like, full of pests and stuff? That's unfortunate. What characters do you want to die in Black Clover? I mean, I would kill off a handful of the captains for sure. I would have done some of that kind of, like, we lost some big people, so now the younger people have to step up kind of thing. Gonna make Ray's major fight with Akune. Was that a year ago? I don't think that was a year ago. I think that was, actually, you might be right, because that was like 86? So that was almost a year ago. It's been a bit. But I mean, like, half of that year is like Lucy focus, you get stuff with Wendy, the whole stuff with what was going on with Celine and Diablos, and now Aiknia. Gray has not had a chance. Like, there has not been any openings for him yet. But I think if we're going to get anything, like I said, with Misaki, Kirin, Scullion, Madmal going forward, I think it has to happen with the next chapter or so. Because we can only have so much time with Dogremag before he goes into his dragon form. And once he goes into his dragon form, I think that they have to, like, start to convene, like, all the characters just start to kind of meet up over there. Because I don't think Natsu and Suzaku by themselves can take Dogremag in his dragon form. He is obviously the weakest out of the dragon gods, but I would assume that that's still going to be enough that it's going to take more than just the two of them. Because if Celine can one-shot somebody stronger than Suzaku, then just even the hypothetical, Natsu by a smidgen stronger than Suzaku, and Suzaku should still be fodder to a dragon god. We don't know the gap between Dogremag and Celine, but unless Dogremag is significantly weaker than Selena, I don't think that he's going to have nearly as much of a situation as Dragon Form where he's just going to, be in trouble. They just might be able to push him a little harder than what Celine would be able to do currently in the story. I suppose, what does it mean? He should be standing around doing nothing? He had, but what is he supposed to do? What is Gray supposed to do? He's ran into one opponent lately, and it's Misaki, who immediately went for Urza, and fuck no, he has no way of fighting Misaki. Ray would have a terrible time with her. Like, he would constantly probably get all of his ice mix broken mid-shape because of her, spatial abilities.
I just don't see how he's mishandled if he hasn't had a scene for his mishandling to occur in. I don't think that makes sense. It'd be like Jin going into fight. It's not the same as if Jin, like right now, he can't just get out and fight Crow. That's not gonna happen. Gray's not gonna just pop in and be like, yeah, Urza, I know you said that this is your fight, but I'm gonna fight Misaki instead. His opponent is Skullion. He hasn't had a chance to run into Skullion yet. If it's one of those times where he somehow is just in scenarios and locations and doesn't do anything, then yeah, but he's literally just been in one spot. He's wandered around, ran into one enemy that was already taken on by somebody else. There's like literally 0 moments so far where Gray could have had his fight or his points in the story to kind of move forward. Jinma could have taken a Gray and Skullion fight already. If he's spacing everything out, then why would he want to put everything at the start? Because then it's obvious that it's going to go in like a one set line where the plot twists. Like this is Mashima. He's going to want at some point to have some shocking twist where another fighter shows up, or there's going to be some wrench in the machine. As we saw, like literally once stuff was kind of moving and comfortable, bam, Ignia shows up. We get another fight we start to see going on with the Celine and Ignia, and as soon as like we think that's resolved, bam, here's Dogermag. I guarantee you, like, there's gonna be another weird plot twist within the next like 2 chapters too, something to kind of really shake up the scenario. That's just how Mashima does stuff. But if he just goes into, okay, we have the Haku and stuff and fight, and then we have Lucy, and then we have Skullion and Madmal, Kieran. He's setting it up. I would assume that once Skullion and Madmal come back, like they are going to be enough that they are a threat right now, because they can't be moving with people like Urza and people like Laxus as free run into opponents, because they're just going to get demolished. They have to be at a point where these guys aren't going to be able to really have the same level of threat, have the same level of pushback if these guys going to do anything. If we say like Skullion and Madden will get back up, Urza and Misaki both can't fight. So then it comes down to Gray and Gajul, Skullion and Madmal. They have to fight. And it's in a spot where it's like, you know that these other characters aren't going to just intervene or have any kind of say in the situation, or maybe the characters have to end up defending either of these from their opponents to, you know, get their safety out of there. It's like one of those things where like, you have to look at where you think things are going logically, and how that can tie in for something like Gray not having a fight yet. With Jin, it's just like, who's he gonna fight? There needs to be more opponents right now. And that's one thing that I've said, is the Dark Stars, there's so many people that I think should be fighting. The Dark Stars obviously are limited in how and where they're gonna be. Like, unless Machine wanted to do some like 2v1s. But otherwise he needs to bring in whoever Crow's special opponents are, or sorry, special minions are, or no, what Act Noellis, where it's like, oh yeah, these are the ones with names that have like more humanoid design, and they're smaller and smarter and whatever. That I could see, but the problem is like he's kind of aimless right now, because he doesn't have a character like that exists. He's just kind of flying around and, you know, shooting at Crow. He needs to have something that it's like, oh, we just haven't gotten to it yet, but we know what it is. Because with Gray, we know that Gray should be fighting Skullion. If we don't get it, that'll be strange. But logically, if he's going to be doing something with what we know right now, he's going to be fighting Skullion. Whereas what? Like I said, Jin is just kind of banished to fighting Crow on his ship. And that's kind of like the general point, like standpoint of where they're at in the story difference-wise. And I think that's a big differentiating point between the two of them. Gray is mostly just kind of like sitting in the waiting points, whereas Jin, it's like you don't even know when his turn is. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, Gray will be up soon. We don't know exactly when. And then it's just like, we're looking on the list and it's like, nobody even has like a time slot where Wise is supposed to go right now. They just don't know where to put him. And that's part of the issue. Natsu, Wendy, and Urza, Laxus being the strongest so far. Wendy's you can't really use because Haku wasn't trying to fight her seriously. All for One is so boring. Yes, he is. He is super boring right now. Why bring Gajul to do nothing? That's the thing with Gajul versus Gray, or like in the story points. If Gray doesn't get his fight with Skullion, it's really weird. But he'd be here just because it'd be like, well, why even be here? But it's like obviously he was in the story, so like even if he
did nothing in the whole arc, if he literally ends up doing nothing, then it's like, well, him being in the arc and doing nothing is weird in general, but him just being present is because he was already present before the current stuff happened. Whereas with Godzilla, it'd be like, what was the point of his character being included in this if he was going to do literally nothing? And that's one of the things I think people need to wait a bit on. Because when you think about it, we're only, we're like 20 chapters or so into this arc, into like the whole Dogramag Labyrinth. I think we've got at least another 10 to 15 before this is over. So I think stuff like, if we get to those fights, it would make a lot of sense. Like, for chapter count, if we got, the next one we're going to get like 2 chapters of Skullion and Gray, and they're going to settle that. We get like 2 chapters of Madmol and Gajil, and then we start to move in towards either a rematch of Misaki and Urza or Kieran versus Laxus continuing. And then we go into Dogramag fight, not just Dogramag skirmish points, but the actual focus fight of Dogramag. I think that would make a lot of sense, and I think that would really kind of work well with the flow of events in the story. Reviving Skullion now wouldn't even be that good because Skullion is injured and he has no healer. He's a Dragon Slayer, and he's in a place where tons of people died. Like, he literally... Think about this. You are in a labyrinth. You are Skullion. You come across a random skeleton. Eat it, healed, magic and stamina back, good to go. Like, that's the equivalent of Natsu, like, just kind of like finding a flaming torch. Like, it's just an automatic, pretty much magic and stamina reset for him. He has one of the most beneficial for where they're at dragon slaying attributes right now. Because he literally just has to come across some random idiot adventurer who thought he could survive, and you're bam, eat the tibia, man, and just get more powerful. Well, Sting and Rogue could beat the records of doing nothing. I mean, Rogue and Cobra, like, what do you expect them to do? Like, characters who haven't really had a lot of like moments to do stuff. You can't really hog on them for not doing anything in 100 Years Quest. Joel's only really been able to be included realistically in one part, unless you count the detective work in the beginning parts. But I mean, he was just outright doing stuff then. I mean, we were talking about Jin versus Gray in terms of like where they're at in the story, though. Like, they're both directly in the main cast. The problem is, it's just like it feels like, think about this. With Gray, you know the area that his character is ultimately going in. Whereas Jin right now, we don't know anything about where his character would be going forward. And so like him just kind of being there, he feels a little bit directionless. It feels like Mashima just kind of has him present in scenes while he's like, I gotta figure out what I want to do with him. I'm just not 100% on it yet. Like, maybe he's still trying to figure out what exactly Jin is going to do in the second half of Eden Zero. Where is this character going to lead the points and direction and then get to, wherever that big end game is for him. It's just a weird spot because you don't, like, he's just kind of there. And I really want that to get fixed. Fairy Tail Eden Zero, tough choice. I would say Fairy Tail, bold for me to say. Depends on what one you like, what kind of story you like more. Saying we should wait to see if Gajil can get a fight when I apply the same to Jin's. That's all I'm saying. So the thing though, like I said, is like with Gajil though, you have an understanding of like in the arc, what is his character likely to do? Where is it aimed towards? Logically, Gajil would fight Madmol because we know where all the other dragon slaying enemies kind of fit up with them. The only ones left over were Madmol and Gajil, and you can look at least some aspects of them and get kind of like connections. Say like, yeah, I can see this fight, but also you know where his character is kind of potentially going to go to in the story. Like if you think about like a story and you think all the different characters involved and where like each of their branches kind of go out in that point of the story to where it has their own subplot. Jin doesn't have really anything right now, and that's the part where I think is a little strange, because like his character has just, like I said, it's like he's like directionist. Right now he's kind of just, he's along for the ride right now until Mashima gives him a new general primary direction of where things to go. Like where he says like, okay, this is what you're doing in the second half. Do this. Skullion really is becoming a punching bag. He lost to Laxus. I mean, that just made sense.
Laxus is Laxus. Like, he's just way more powerful that's going on. I don't really like I don't really want to slander characters that get trashed by somebody way more powerful than them unless they were talking a lot of shit first. Gajo eats Madball's armor. It's a high possibility. It depends on like what that would do for him. If it just be a general buff or if it'd be anything significant. Just really quick, just gonna put this out there for my stream shill. If you can thumbs up the stream, if you're enjoying it. Friend the like button, subscribe button. If you feel like donating $1 or becoming a channel member, the options are there. The channel member, it's only what, a $1 and $2 set tiers. You get priority messages. You get voting rights in polls. And I was still setting up to probably do like game streams instead with like member people. Because I wanted to kind of like maybe start with some more simple games. And one of them is like, I was thinking about getting a capture card. And like, I still haven't really gotten anywhere in Pokemon Arceus. I have it. But like, I only got to like the first part because the new Kirby game came out. And I wanted to play that instead. And I've been taking my time on that game. I mean, I'm fine with waiting for Mashima. I'm sure he'll get to it at some point. It's just like he looks at it more of like a large kind of spread of like where he's gonna put each of the fights, and I assume for him thinking of like the fight structure of this arc probably is something in his head that passes through within a minute, whereas like in real life time that's like a year and a half. So it's one of those things of the planner versus the guy in the dark who like has to deal with 2 weeks between every chapter before we figure out where things are headed. Jaws aren't related with Urza. He will be doing nothing. I don't know what's up your hey with Jalal, man. Jalal's cool. I don't get it. I don't get that. But yeah, I'm trying. So there won't be a stream on Sunday. I'm gonna probably have I'll probably have my streams generally just kind of told beforehand. I probably will do a stream on Tuesday. I think right now that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe like one on Tuesday or Wednesday. And then I'm trying to think because I want to get stuff. I want to do the Shonen Jump one, but I'm going to be busy. Actually, no, I can do it on Sunday. Never mind. I was like looking at my schedule and it's like I was thinking about like work and stuff, but it's like I don't work until later in the afternoon, so I'm gonna be fine on Wednesday or Sunday. So we will do the Shonen Jump one on Sunday. We'll do that one, around 10 like last time. I'll try and like make that one a little quicker. I'll try and read it a little faster because some of those I kind of ran for a little bit. I had to think of just like some of the ones to go through. I'll kind of like skim them, kind of like plan them out better. Try and do it all within like an hour. Because I want to do like more of the longer streams. Like more kind of like, I got, multiple things planned. Maybe somebody comes and joins in and does some stuff, comes and chats. That I want to maybe kind of aim for more of like, more general longer, like 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, shit. You just busted a nut.
Thank you very much for the, what is this, a $5 super chat. Michael Batty, love Rachel, but I didn't get into Eden Zero. Just my opinion. I mean, some people don't like the sci-fi aspect, so I mean, I get you. I like the kind of just general, slightly wizardy looking and kind of feeling sci-fi power system and like how it all kind of connects. Yeah, thanks for the $5 super chat, Michael Batty. I appreciate it. If you get eventually, it's cheaper than donating $5. You could do membership. It does, a monthly setup. You get a little bit of benefits and perks added. So especially also when you're in the streams, you get a nice little badge that shows next to your name. And I still gotta add more emotes. Like that's something I gotta do. I've been meaning to do it for a bit. Like I said, I was running into a problem with just like the images themselves. But I'll probably try and get at least like 1 or 2 added tomorrow. And the same thing with the badges. But obviously, like I said, that's optional. I really like the membership, like the little things in there, because it's like obviously I I don't want anything that's crazy. Some people can lose track of what they donate. And on top of that, like, it makes it easier for me to kind of keep track of, like, where things are looking with YouTube. And it makes it easier for me to kind of, like, set my time and, like, where to direct stuff. And kind of, like, see where, like, progression is going. Obviously, though, that's completely optional, like I always say. I don't like to push stuff like I'm forcing it. Seems weird. Like, some people, they get hungry for super chats and stuff like that. I mostly kind of just, it's like, if I had a hat, do, like, what is it, the fedora tip, it'd be, an evening there, viewer. Like, what if, oh my god, I wish I watched more old shows, like, really old shows, so I can do, like, a proper one. It'd be mighty kind for a join button. Something like that. You just kind of just meme it real hard. Like it's like the 1930s or something. Joel made 4th in the character poll, and that's enough to say he's a cool character. I really like Joel. I mean, Joel just needs something to do right now. Joel needs an opponent. Joel needs something for his character to kind of like direct at. Because with Gears, it was way more of a character development fight. It was way more have to do with like him and his past and him moving past all that. Him kind of like advancing himself as an individual. Like that was way more for where it was set up. Way less of like a cool choreographed fight. We get a lot of the Dark Stars, but I don't think that we'll get much for Crow character wise. I kind of hope we do, or if we're just gonna kind of get him as like a fun bad guy. Like, maybe he himself isn't, like, a layered, complex character, but his backstory is really cool. Like, if he was, like, a machine made by some, like... Kind of like, imagine if you've got, like, some kind of Terminator-esque, like, Skynet background, but maybe he was, like, a scientist or something who kept augmenting his body, and it just kept going and going and going, and then look where he's at now. How would you rate a gag defeat for Dogremag? Somebody shows up with a hose and just keeps spraying him. Yeah, Mercephobia shows up with a hose and just keeps spraying him, and he's just like, no, my rocks are no mud. And I guess like if he had, he's Earth Dragon, so he can control the mud. I don't know. What if Dogremag's saying was like he didn't really like dirt in his shoes? Is he wearing shoes? I don't think we've seen his feet. He doesn't like dirt getting in his pants, so he goes home. You want to know Aknol's backstory? I want to see what her crew looks like. She's got to have at least a couple minions that are, like, relevant or, like, that are gonna be shown as, like, who she fucks around with. Who she wanders around and does villain stuff with. But anyway, I'll call this good tonight. Just having a short stream. Just something kind of just, like, comfortable to kind of have going into the weekend. Nothing kind of crazy. What is this, like a little under an hour and a half? We're just kind of getting a nice little conversation out there, getting a little more chat with. I know you like Mad Mole, but I think Gajo going from finding someone insane like Bloodman to a goofy like Mad Mole is a downgrade. I mean, Mad Mole is clearly competent and capable, but every single Mashima bad guy group has a goofy character, and Mad Mole isn't even that goofy. Like he has like a little bit of he has that kind of face that kind of makes him look not as intimidating. And he seems to be a little bit of a friendly guy. But I mean, like, outside of that, if he can fight, he can fight. Like, this is anime. Like, characters with weird personalities can fight. Like, if they're goofy, but they can back it up. Personally, I think that'll be really cool if he's just as capable, but he is, he's just a silly kind of quiet to himself guy for a lot of aspects. Someone respectful. I think that would just kind of add a little bit to his character. And it'd make him a little bit more fun for his whole style and setup. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys on Sunday. We'll do the Shonen Jump stream. We'll talk about what's going on over there with these new chapters. I mean, the one that I'm looking forward to is the same one I was looking forward to the most last week. I'm looking forward to Mashal. I want to see what's going on with Doom and what's the guy's name? Agito, the Immortal Kane. Summon Thanatos. That shit is gonna be cool. Elsie versus Ishiki. I go with Ishiki. But yeah,